I woke up and I had to do stand-ups, and I was just like about to explode. But
That's
hi,
gr-
buddy.
Oh, hey.
Burning through the
Welcome to Joe's Gaming
fire,
Corner.
yeah.
Now, Joe's not going to talk about his explosive morning. Instead, he's going to talk about a video game called Anno. Joe, what the hell is this?
Tell us
Okay,
about it.
so Anno is a series of games. I'm going to preface this bet that I am going to just be talking about Anno 1800, what came out about 2 weeks ago. But Anno is a series of games. I know nothing about Anno lore wise or plot wise or whatever. All I know is kind of like generally what the type of game it was. It kept on showing up on my Steam for Anno like 2705 or something like that, like a future version of the game or a sci-fi setting of the game, and I just didn't have any interest of it. And so then I saw Anno 1800 and it's set in the 1800s. And I was like, oh, I like that aesthetic a little bit more. It's like right at the cusp of the Industrial Revolution and goes through it. And I really like that setting and aesthetic. So I was like, I'll pick it up. And it's probably one of the best, like, god like city builder games I've ever played.
Ooh, do tell.
Ooh.
How does it
So
stack up to the others?
I think it's pretty good. And I think one of the best, like, kind of games like this I've ever played. So what the game is, and once again, I don't know anything about the lore or whatever part of the world, but essentially you are a designated tradesman by the queen to go settle islands and like produce and populate the islands and like trade materials between other people in the country itself. So you're essentially like a colony settler person. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Like you
Yes.
go and establish colonies essentially. And so each island has its own fertility. Like this island can produce peppers. This island can produce like beer hops. This island can doesn't really have any good fertile ground, but it's got fucking gold in it. Go get it.
Hey, that's all right.
Yeah. And so you have to. I'm trying to know how to describe, because the way that you get a population in this game is it's not just building houses but also upgrading your houses. Essentially, you have a class system in your game where you have your first class, which is farmers, and then you have another class, which is workers, and then you have artisans, and then you have engineers, and I think there's one more group past that. But the only way to upgrade your farmers and the workers is you have to provide the farmer with all of its needs and like happiness, and then you get to upgrade it, and then that new group of people, that new class, has its own sets of needs and wants.
Yeah, so that's
And-
interesting because I feel like most games like this, they just have it so like a citizen is a citizen. There's
Yeah.
not, yeah, and like they don't always differentiate between like classes like that.
And the thing is too is like I can't just like gather up money and resources and then purchase a citizen. I have to like entice people to come live at my colony
That's
essentially.
pretty fun.
You have to make like an actually functioning society instead of like, hey, just get this one number high enough to buy more citizens.
Basically, yeah. And like I don't have any control of you have an indirect control of which your like the rate of your city like grows. So like for example, like your farmers are very basic. All they need is to have a town marketplace nearby. They get fish and they need some clothes. That's all they need to upgrade. Okay. But the speed of which that they upgrade is determined by the distance of the fisherman from the marketplace, the distance of the marketplace to the person in that house, the distance that the person who herds the sheep is to the clothes maker, and distance of the clothes maker to the to marketplace or the warehouse.
It's like even more in depth than like Sim City. Like,
Yeah.
when I first heard about this, I assumed when I first heard about this game, knowing nothing about it, I was like, oh, it sounds like it's like a Civ type game. But I was like, no, this is like mega 1800 Sim City.
Yeah, and so that's an aspect of it. And then when you get a new class, you essentially like that's the way you like upgrade your research tree. Like you're essentially like leveled up your research, and now you can do And now that you have the worker class, you can now go mine mines and go mine clay pits, and now you can build paved roads. And then when you upgrade a little bit more, once you have more workers, it's like, oh, I can now harvest iron from the mines. But then you could become in this situation where like, oh shit, now I'm making pollution, and the pollution is making people unhappy, which is making people revolt. So I now have to make police at the make police stations and make sure everything's covered, and I have to like jigsaw puzzle everything together so it's efficient, but at the same time like I have enough space to grow later. And you're just thinking like, oh shit.
God, that seems really fun.
Dude, and like I'm looking at screenshots right now, and man, this is cool.
The game is fucking beautiful.
Yeah, because like games like this, I feel like their first priority usually isn't like graphics or like detail in the villages themselves, but here, like, holy shit!
Post
like,
one in chat. I want to see.
So here's the other thing about the game. The biggest complaint I have about city builders games is that there's a lot of times in city builders where you kind of like you set things up and you're like, all right, I'm gonna just let it do its thing. This game has you doing something every minute, every time you play. So first off, there's also an RTS element of this game where you have to build ships and defend yourself from raiding pirates and other like
fun
fanatics, and as well as potentially wage war against rival trade companies.
This game on Steam?
No, it's on Uplay.
Oh.
Yeah, it's a Ubisoft.
I forgot that existed.
Ruined.
Yeah. So that's one aspect of it. In addition, you have missions that some NPCs give you, like, oh, I need you to deliver like 6 tons of wool to this island, or I need you to sail to this island, pick up this item and sail it back, or my trade route needs an escort for this one trade. Can you send some ships to go trade it? And you're sending these ships everywhere, and these ships are also the same ships you use to do your own trade deals. So if you have a ship doing another mission, it's not going to be able to go and provide a trade route for yourself or to another person or player. You also have these like colony expeditions where you go and explore the world and you come back with treasure.
Are there multiple players? Is this multiplayer?
It's also multiplayer. That's the other thing,
dude. That's so cool. I want to make my own little village.
Yeah, and then you also you can discover the new world, and then you have to establish your own colony in a new world, and you have to have your trade routes from like one side of the island to the other, and you have another. There's just so much going on in this game.
I'm not even much of a city builder guy, but like I love the idea of incrementally being able to do more stuff. Like that's what makes Stardew Valley such a good game for me. And this seems to really scratch that itch. So I might check this out. I don't know.
Looking at the screenshots, I want to make my own fun little city village.
Yeah, and there's so much to it. Like you have to at one point you have to like start like advertising your little town as a place where like people can come and visit for tourism and stuff like that. And it's just, and so you have to like go send expeditions to go capture wild animals so you can build up a zoo or a museum, so it's like more attractive to go visit because you have like treasures of the world and stuff. You're like, oh my god. So the other thing about this game that I really kind of like, and I think people would take this more as a negative, but it has a really short campaign. I had to restart the campaign like 2 or 3 times because I was just like I was still figuring out the mechanics of the game. And I think the campaign does a good job of like explaining to you what you need to do, but not holding your hand the entire way of what to do. Yeah, which is really good. And kind of sets a good pace of what you should be working towards and what then you should be working towards next, and so on and so forth. So that's good. Like I got to the end of the campaign, you're like, all right, now you have to actually win the game. Oh, there's also like victory conditions in the game, and you have to discover them for yourself. So I don't even know what they are. It's a really in-depth game, I feel.
This sounds like it is genre defining.
I think so. It's this series has been going on for 20 years apparently. But this is like their first big hit that they've had.
Yeah, I've seen some. When I first looked this up, I found some like really old games, and I was like, "Well, I know a new one just came out."
Yeah, I will say though, this game is $60, which I think is a bit steep.
Ew.
Not saying that it doesn't deserve $60. I just know that I bought it because I'll play these games. Like, this is my genre of game to play. So I'm like, yeah, I'll play this. Like, sure, why not? It's beautiful. I have the computer to run it. So that's one thing. Number two is I have a pretty decent computer, and I get frame rate issues when I play on the highest settings. So I don't know what's going on there. I think there's some weird optimization stuff going on. Like, the game looks and functions better. Obviously when you have it on lower settings, but like it's just really weird because the game read my system, was like, oh, you can play on ultra settings, fine, and then it was very stuttery and jittery when I played. I was like, So, and then what else? Just I'm trying to think of more negatives. The game is like the game is something you have to like try and fail and redo over and over again. And there are some mechanics that doesn't really tell you what you're supposed to do or how they work. And the way you get money is hard to calculate, I feel.
Yeah. Okay.
It's essentially the way you earn money is you have a relative wealth of it's based off your relative growth of your island. And if your island isn't growing, you start going into the negatives. So it's just a strange wrap your head around kind of thing, because usually it's just like, I just make positive and I just gain a bunch of money over time, and really it's more like, no, you have to continuously grow.
Definitely seems not traditional on that regard.
Not in terms of city builders. It might be for the series. I don't know because I haven't played the rest of the series, but it was something that was very different. When I booted up and played, it's like, oh, this was not what I was expecting at all, and I really enjoyed it for that. Anyways, 5 out of 5 game. It probably just jumped. It was a surprise jump up to like Joe's top 5 games of 2019, I think.
Nice. Yeah,
I was just like, oh man, like I wasn't even like following this game, or I just like heard about it from some like YouTuber. I was like, oh, I like that aesthetic. I think I'll check it out. And I was like, oh,
that's such a fun feeling.
Yeah, I poured like 24 hours into the game after about like 3 days of playing it.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure if we're still alive near end of the year, this might come up in certain deliberations that we may or may not have.
Yeah.
As game of the year. Okay. Is that all you got, Joe?
Yeah.
Is that all you got?
I feel like if you really like a civilization type game or city simulator type games, I would definitely check this out. This game's a good blend of both. I had a real good time with it. I really can't say big negatives on it because I feel like it's very different. But it's also very familiar. So I really like that.
You think it's a good starter city not. Baby city game? No? Okay, great.
No, I feel like it's definitely got it's hard to determine, but I feel like it has a really good tutorial and saying like, do this, this is what you need to do, and you kind of just play around with it for a little bit, and there's not a lot of pressure for you, I feel, until like real late into the game in terms of like, oh my god, I'm getting attacked all the time. It's not like a RTS where you have to rush through things. It's a very slow burn game.
Okay, gotcha.